You have just received the news, the promotion, the closed deal, the milestone reached, the thing you have been working toward for months, perhaps years, and it has finally arrived, bringing with it the rush of achievement and the sensation of weight lifting from your shoulders. And in that moment, all you want to do is share it, to celebrate, to call the people you trust and let them know that you have made it. So you do. You tell your friend, your colleague, the person who has been with you since the beginning, and you wait for the reaction that you expect, the one that matches the magnitude of the moment, the one that confirms what you already feel. But something is wrong, something you cannot quite name, a pause that lingers a beat too long, a slight delay in their response, a smile that does not quite reach the eyes, a congratulations that sounds hollow, like a bell that has lost its ring, and you feel it, this coldness, this distance, this shift in the air that was not there before. You tell yourself you are imagining things. You tell yourself you are being paranoid. You tell yourself these are your friends, your people, the ones who have always supported you. But the feeling does not go away. It lingers. It settles in your chest like a stone, and you cannot shake it. Seneca understood this feeling better than almost anyone, for he lived in a world of constant competition, of shifting alliances, of men who smiled while they sharpened their knives. And as the wealthiest man in Rome and the advisor to the most powerful emperor on earth, he knew that the greatest danger did not come from his enemies, but from the people closest to him. In his treatise on anger, written in 3 books and dedicated to his brother Novatus, Seneca explored the darkest corners of human emotion. And in the 3rd book, he made a statement that cuts through the centuries like a blade, observing that no man is satisfied with his own lot if he fixes his attention on that of another, and that human nature is so churlish that however much men may have received, they think themselves wronged if they are able to receive still more, warning that when a man envies few people, he must be followed in the background by a huge crowd of people who envy him. This is the sickness that Seneca identified, a sickness of proximity, a disease that spreads from those closest to you, a kind of madness that makes us grow angry even at the gods because someone is ahead of us, forgetting how many men there are behind us. And it is the most insidious form of hatred because it wears the mask of friendship, smiling while it wounds, congratulating while it calculates. And here is the part that most men never understand. Envy does not announce itself. It does not arrive with a warning label. It creeps in slowly, quietly, like a fog that you do not notice until you are already lost, living in the spaces between words, hiding in the pauses, revealing itself not in what people say, but in what they do not say. Seneca warned about this in his letter to Lucilius, number 73, where he wrote about philosophers and power, observing that men in public life think not of the many whom they have outstripped, but rather of those by whom they are outstripped, finding it less pleasing to see many behind them than annoying to see anyone ahead of them, which, he said, is the trouble with every sort of ambition, for it does not look back. So here are the 7 signs, 7 signals that envy is present, 7 warnings that Seneca would want you to recognize before it is too late. The first sign is that they interrupt your success with their own story, for when you share your achievement and you are in the middle of telling them what happened, they cut in before you can finish, telling you about their own success, their own promotion, their own deal, their own moment in the sun, because they cannot let you have your moment. They cannot bear to let you stand alone in the light. They need to stand next to you, or, better yet, in front of you. And this is not sharing. This is stealing, the instinct of a person who cannot tolerate your elevation because it reminds them of their own stagnation. The second sign is that their congratulations sound cold, for the words are right, but the tone is wrong. And they say congratulations, but it sounds like good for you in the way that means not good for me. With no warmth, no energy, no genuine joy, just words, hollow words that have been emptied of meaning because the feeling behind them is not joy but resentment. And you can hear it, you can feel it, hanging in the air like smoke after a fire that has already burned out. The third sign is that they remind you of your past failures, for you have just achieved something significant, and instead of celebrating, they bring up the past, reminding you of the time you failed, the project that did not work, the deal that fell through, the mistake you made years ago. And they do this not to help you, but to bring you back down, to remind you that you are not as great as you think you are, to plant a seed of doubt in the moment of your triumph. And this is envy dressed up as honesty, poison wrapped in the guise of concern. The fourth sign is that they diminish your effort, telling you that you just got lucky, that it was timing, that anyone could have done it. For these are the words of envy that strip away your effort, erase your sacrifice, and reduce your achievement to chance, to circumstance, to something that had nothing to do with you. And Seneca understood this perfectly, knowing that envy cannot admit that someone else earned what they have, because to admit that would be to admit that the envious person could have earned it too, and that is too painful to accept. So they lie. They tell themselves it was luck. They tell you it was luck, and they believe it because they have to. The fifth sign is that they avoid your eyes after the news, for when you tell them your success, they look away, finding something interesting on the floor, studying the ceiling, checking their phone, anything to avoid your gaze. Because the eyes are the windows of the soul, and their soul is filled with something they do not want you to see: shame, resentment, anger, and the look away is the confession. The avoidance is the admission that they cannot look at you, because looking at you means facing their own inadequacy, and that is too much to bear. The sixth sign is that they begin to criticize your path, for now that you have succeeded, they have opinions telling you that you did it wrong, that you could have done it better, that the way you achieved your success was flawed, unethical, or just not the way they would have done it. And this is not constructive criticism, but envy wearing the mask of wisdom, because they are not trying to help you improve. They are trying to tear down what you have built so they do not have to feel small next to it. And Seneca saw this clearly when he wrote that the wise man is content with himself and does not need the crowd to validate him. But the envious person cannot stand the sight of someone who is content, so they attack. The seventh sign is that they disappear in your moment of triumph. For when you achieve something great, the people who were closest to you become suddenly unavailable, not returning your calls, not showing up to the celebration, saying they are busy, tired, or have other plans, because they are there for the struggles, for the late nights, for the difficult conversations. But when the victory comes, they vanish, unable to bear witnessing what they have not achieved, unable to stand being in the room where your success is celebrated. So they leave, leaving you wondering what happened. Seneca warned about this too, saying that envy is natural to man, but it is at once a vice and a source of misery, advising that we should treat it as the enemy of our happiness and stifle it like an evil thought. For we shall be pleased with what we have if we avoid the self-torture of comparing our own lot with some other and happier one. But here is the deeper truth that Seneca understood and that most people never learn. Envy is not about the other person. It is about the self. For when someone envies you, they are not really angry at you. They are angry at themselves, at their own perceived failure, at their own inability to achieve what you have achieved, and you are just the mirror that reflects their own inadequacy back at them, and they hate the mirror. This is why Seneca said that envy is a confession of powerlessness, a confession of inadequacy, a confession of a life that has not lived up to its own expectations. And the person who envies you is not your enemy, but a person who has lost faith in themselves and is taking it out on you. What do you do with this knowledge? How do you protect yourself from the poison of proximity? Seneca gave us the answer, saying that the line of conduct to be pursued if you are exposed to envy is to keep the envious persons at a distance and, as far as possible, avoid all contact with them so that there may be a wide gulf fixed between you and them. And if this cannot be done, you must bear their attacks with the greatest composure. Do not confront them, do not argue with them, do not try to convince them that you deserve what you have earned, for they already know you deserve it. That is why they envy you. And the problem is not their understanding but their heart, and you cannot fix a broken heart with logic. Instead, observe, watch, notice the signs, recognize the patterns, and then quietly, without drama, without confrontation, create distance, not out of anger, not out of revenge, but out of wisdom, out of self-preservation, out of the understanding that some people cannot celebrate you because they have not yet learned to celebrate themselves. Seneca also wrote that we should rejoice with others in their joys and sympathize with them in their troubles. But he also said that we should remember what we should offer and what we should withhold. For there is a discipline to relationships and a wisdom to knowing who deserves your trust and who does not. You can smell the envy in the room, stale and metallic, like old coins and resentment. And you can feel it in the way the conversation shifts, in the slight pause before the congratulations, in the questions that come a little too quickly after you mention your achievements, and you know it is there, but you do not have to engage with it. You have worked too hard to let someone else's insecurity steal your joy. You have sacrificed too much to let envy dim your light. You have earned the right to celebrate, to be proud, to stand in your success without apology, and the envious person is not your problem. They are their own problem, trapped in a prison of comparison, of resentment, of never feeling good enough, and they will stay there until they decide to leave. For you cannot save them, you cannot fix them, you cannot love them. Out of their envy, all you can do is protect yourself.